and welcome to our course on Fab Filter. In the last video we covered the Pro C2, and proceeding in alphabetical order, we'll be covering the Pro DS in this video. The Pro DS, as implied by its name, is a de-esser, and its purpose is to remove any annoying sibilants caused by S's or T's in your vocal recording. What that means is that at any time when your singer or speaker produces an S or a T sound, that might overload the diaphragm of the compressor and cause a lot of annoying hissing or ringing in the top high frequencies, and that might manifest itself as a distorted sounding, very harsh sound, and that's not good, especially when you're turning up your music. Those particular consonants could pop through and appear to be very sharp to the ear and quite annoying. So what we want to do is we want to remove them selectively from the vocal, and we do this by using something like Pro DS, which has a pretty intelligent algorithm that can actually determine or distinguish the S and T sibilants from the rest of your recording. So let's see how this works. I'm just going to play a short clip of a vocal that has a short little S that I want to get rid of.
Oh, what I would do for just a moment with you.
So in that just a moment, I would kind of want that S in the word just to be a little bit lower.
For just a moment with you.
So let's see if we can selectively get rid of that. Let's enable our Pro DS. And we have to set our threshold according to the same principles I elaborated in the Pro C2 video. You want to set it to a value where your S will go past the threshold, but not at a value where most of your signal is coming past the threshold, because then you risk de-essing more content than you want. You only want to de-ess the annoying parts and leave the rest of the good parts intact. The way you do this is you listen and you audition your track and adjust your threshold accordingly.
Just a moment with you.
So at a threshold of about -10, we get that particular little onset of the S to be eliminated. And you can see it by the highlighted region.
For just a moment with you. For just a
And also in the beginning of do.
I would do.
That little attack is a bit harsh, and so the compressor correctly determines that it can do with a little bit of compression.
I would do for just a moment with you.
Reducing it more would essentially make the de-esser more sensitive. Keep in mind that this particular de-esser has a very smart algorithm. It can, even at very low thresholds, it retains its integrity quite well.
I would do for just a moment with you. That's all.
Okay, at -24, sorry, I need to be using single vocal. Single vocal mode essentially instructs the compressor to act according to that smart algorithm I just mentioned. Whereas the all-round vocal, this mode instructs the compressor to de-ess according to the frequency range that you set here with these sliders. That's not to say that these sliders don't matter in the single vocal mode. It's just that it just informs the algorithm on where to look. But in the all-round mode, it's going to exclusively utilize this range, and it's not going to employ any kind of algorithms. You might find that useful with more complex material that doesn't have, for instance, it has many vocalists, and a single vocal mode where single vocal mode processing wouldn't be sufficient to get rid of those high frequencies.
I would do for just a moment.
As you can see in the single vocal algorithm, we can reduce the threshold quite a lot,
for just a moment with you.
and it's going to retain
I would do.
a lot of its integrity.
I would do for just a moment.
As you can see by the gain reduction meter here, we're getting quite a lot of gain reduction in those areas, about -6 decibels. I wouldn't really want that
I
much,
would
but
do for just a moment with you.
the range simply instructs the compressor how much it's able to reduce your gain. A range of 24 decibels would mean that the compressor is allowed to reduce it's allowed to get a gain reduction of 24 decibels. And what that means is that uh, you get a more intense de-essing effect. So
I would do for just a moment with.
if we have a very high range,
I would do for just a moment.
that S completely disappears, and that's not what we want. We want to keep that S. We want to obviously retain the actual consonant, or else it's going to disappear entirely, and it doesn't. It sounds as if the singer isn't saying that letter at all. We want to retain it, but just attenuate it a tiny bit.
I would do for just a moment with you. That's all I really need.
That's very nice. If you want to listen exactly what the compressor is compressing and what is triggering the compressor, then you can click this little headphone tool to monitor exactly what the unit is detecting to be sibilants.
I really.
So that's pretty convincing evidence of the fact that the compressor is doing its job and it's determining correctly what to look for. You can specify even more with a greater detail what the compressor needs to look for by setting the range that you want ProDS to analyze with its algorithms. If you set it all the way, then the compressor will look more deeper into the low end or lower end. It doesn't go to 0 hertz, it goes to 2 kilohertz. But it's going to look around this entire range. We don't want the entire range to be analyzed. We only want the range where the particular S is sitting. So we want to adjust these sliders according to where that S lives.
I would do for just a moment. I would do for just a moment with you.
So it's going to be sitting at approximately this range of 10K.
I would do for just a moment with you.
So you want to observe what lights up most when that particular consonant passes by.
I would do for just a moment with you.
Yeah, so you get a lot of heat in this high-end range.
I would do for just a moment with you.
Probably less below 10K.
I would do for just a moment with you.
Yeah.
That's all I really need.
Cool. So that's when you set these. You can click the audition. Ooh, that's very annoying if you listen to that on its own. But then again, it's going to sound annoying because you're playing it on its own. In the context of the actual vocal, it might not be as annoying, but nevertheless, it's good to keep track of exactly the frequency range that you're working with.
For just a moment with you.
It's very easy to go overboard, especially with these kinds of plugins that attenuate your sibilants with such precision and transparency that you just forget about the fact that you do need the consonants to still be there. And so sometimes what you'll hear is that people over-compress or over-DS their vocal, and you lose definition in a lot of the words and a lot of the vocal articulations containing this high-end content.
I would do for just a moment.
So you got to make sure to keep that. Next, I want you to look at this this selection here, the wideband and split band. This is slightly more advanced and useful in certain technical circumstances. If you want more information on this, Dave Pensato has a video where he utilizes sidechain compression to not DS something, but he essentially is trying to modulate the high-end information of a vocal with the hi-hat in the track. And so the hi-hats are occupying their respective high-end frequency role, but he wanted those hi-hats to be dynamically reduced in their high frequency content when the vocal is playing. So on one hand, you can use a EQ to just cut out of the high frequencies out of the hi-hats, but that's a kind of a draconian measure, because what you're going to get is a hi-hat that's just permanently bereft of its high frequencies. What you want to prevent the clashing between the high end and the vocal and the high end and the hi-hats is to dynamically reduce that high end in the less important element to make room for the more important element, which is obviously the vocal. So that's exactly what this split band allows you to do. So wideband, it's going to decrease the entire volume of your entire vocal across the entire frequency range when the S's come. So when you get an instance of sibilance, your entire vocal will drop in volume, whereas a split band it'll drop in volume only in the desired frequency range that is specified by this sidechain value. And so much in like the first video, the Pro C2 video, you have to make a send channel and route external audio into this plugin for the Pro DS to actually recognize an external sidechain, and then it's going to be DSing according to whatever high frequency range that you specify. Whereas in the wideband, again, it's gonna just basically treat the entire vocal with the compression, which is much more natural when you're using a single vocal. Split band is something you need to be using under very specific circumstances, and it's better for very complicated material. So you're going to be using this comparatively less, but that opportunity is still present. So the stereo link is a parameter that you can find in basically any Fab Filter plugin. It's quite complicated and admittedly difficult to understand. However, just generally speaking, what it does is that at percentage of 0, it's treating your left and right channels independently and compressing them independently. Once you increase the percentage to 100, it starts to compress them both at the not independently. It's going to basically consolidate them and process them as one stereo channel. They're going to be linked, and then the left and right channels will be linked in how they're compressed. So the compressor will act on both simultaneously at the exact same, or rather in the exact same way. And then past that, you start to get mid-only processing or side-only processing, which is specified by this button here. That means is that you can use only stereo information that's going to trigger your de-esser, but process the middle. Likewise, you can use the mid information to trigger the de-esser, but process only the stereo. That's relatively advanced. I don't really see much practical application for something like this, but nevertheless, again, that opportunity is present, and make use of it if you know what you're doing and you feel as though it's required in your production. Lastly, the look ahead is also something that's you can find in many other Fab Filter plugins. This simply instructs the de-esser to look ahead of itself at the specified value of time, and it'll be more accurate because it already anticipates the coming sibilance, and it's basically prepared to drop the volume as soon as that sibilance strikes. If you have this turned off, or if you have it at 0, you're going to get slight inaccuracies, and you can even probably permit tiny amounts of those annoying consonants to pop through before the plugin could reasonably react to them and then apply its de-essing algorithm. So you want to have some sort of a look ahead, in my opinion. However, you are sacrificing some latency. You're going to get slightly more latency and CPU usage. So this is why you would want to use this when you're mixing down the record and you have all your bounce stems. and you're ready to render out your mix. So I hope you learned something about this de-essing unit, this plugin by Fab Filter. Thanks for watching this one, and I hope you stick around for the next one. We'll be covering the Pro G. Thanks a lot and have a good day.